Hi Papercrafters, welcome to another Design with Joe video. I'm Joanne Rogers, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. Today I have another Joe tips for you. So this one is one that I think you'll all agree, when we get something in the mail, we love it when the envelope is decorated. And so when we often say in our blog posts and in different places, just decorate the envelope, sometimes you're a little unsure what you might want to do. So I've got 5 different ways that I want to show you that you can use to add a little bit of pizzazz to your envelopes. So let's get started. So for each of these, I'm going to show you a card that I've made, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to decorate the envelope to coordinate it. Now this one is probably one that you know of, so I'm just using Whisper White medium envelopes. This one is one of the quickest ways that you can add a little bit of coordination to the envelope. It's to take a matching piece of designer paper, if you have designer paper on your card, and all you're going to do is take it and you are going to glue it up to the score line. So what I often do is I take my snail, I go right up to the score line and down both sides. I usually don't lick the envelope. I just find that I'm not really into that. So I'm just going to line this right up against the score line. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to take my paper snips and I am just going to cut right around it. It gives you a perfect way to be able to see. You don't have to worry about cutting straight lines. You don't need to cut it exactly. And this way you're not going to have white showing when the envelope is opened. So you will see this one on the inside of the envelope. You can easily do this on the outside of the envelope and have it here. What I find, this particular piece of paper has a little bit of texture to it. And so I like to put that kind of paper on the inside, and I might put this kind of paper on the outside. So that way you have a perfectly coordinated envelope. So one of the quickest ways. So this next way is one that you've probably done before as well, but when you have a card that you've made where you've stamped an image on it, all you're going to do is take that image and recreate it onto the envelope. So I'm just taking the same stamp and I'm going to stamp it again on the right hand side. So when you're doing this on the right hand side, just make sure you leave enough room for your stamp, your postage stamp. Stamp straight down. And then you are just going to go in and I'm actually going to color those. Now I colored that with my Stampin' Blends. So if that's the case, this is going, the Stampin' Blends, the alcohol marker is going to go straight through here. So I just line it for the time being with one of my black pieces of black, and I am just going to color. So I'm going to color with my lightest first. Because it's a small area, I'm just going to color with my bullet tip instead of my brush tip. And this works great just to coordinate, and then when they open it, they are going to have a perfectly matched card with their envelope. And also what you're going to do is get your Canada Post, if you're in Canada, or the US Postal Service, wherever this card is coming from or going to, those mail delivery people are really, really going to love it. Okay, so there you go. There's that one done. The third way is to, again, use my stamps and recreate with my two-step stamping. This time, instead of stamping on the front of the envelope, I'm going to stamp on the flap again, but on the outside of the flap. And when you're two-step stamping and you have a larger stamp like I have in this Parcels and Petals, the flowers, this is a set of 3, you want to use a Post-it note. So I've got a large size Post-it note here, and I am going to mask off the main part of my envelope. Here, I'll turn it this way. The main part of my envelope so that I do not stamp on there. And be careful when you're stamping because there is a bit of a crease here. So we're going to stamp right over that crease. So I folded it back to make it a little bit flatter. So now I'm just going to stamp and then do my flowers in a few different places. I'm going to turn this as I go. And then I'm going to come up into that area as well. So give a little bit more pressure. So I have a little bit of white showing there, but that's not bothering me too much. And now I'm going to go in with the leaf, make sure my leaf is going the right way. And I'm just going to add a few leaves to give it a little bit of color. So then what you have, similar to the designer paper, you have an envelope that is perfectly matched again with the card that you're going to be giving. So number 4 has some embossing on it on the heart here. So this is the Parisian Flourish 3D embossing folder. So in order to coordinate this card with my envelope, or the other way around, I guess, I'm going to take the flap of the envelope, and again, I'm doing the flap only, and I'm going to place it into my embossing folder. And what I want to do is I want to line up this line here, where that fold is, with where the line ends here. So if I put it just right to the end, there actually is a bit of a break there, and I don't want that break to happen. So I could go further, but I don't want my whole envelope to be having the embossing on it. I just want my embossing to go directly up to where that line ends. Then I'm going to hold it so that I've got it held in my fingers, and I'm going to close it here and then take my other fingers out. And then I'm going to place this into my Big Shot, into my die cutting machine, so that it's going to go this way. You have to be sometimes a little bit careful here just to make sure that your envelope does not move when you're putting it down. Then you're going to put your plate over top, and this is the purple or blue one made for the new 3D embossing folders. And you're just going to run that through. And then when you pull it out, you have a beautiful flap that is going to match your card. And for my last one, this is my card made with the Happy Tails stamps and the punch. And it's also made with dies from the Be Mine die set. Now this particular die cuts out the heart and leaves stitching lines on the outside, on the inside. But there are dies in that same set which just leave stitching lines. And so you want to be careful when you're doing this last technique that you're making sure you have a die that is only going to stitch lines as opposed to cut out. Because if you cut out, you are going to cut right into your, you're going to cut a shape right into your envelope. So what I do with this one, just because it's a little bit thinner, is I put another piece of cardstock in behind, and it works like a double duty, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put my heart on the front, I'm going to create my stitching lines, and I'm going to write my address in here, but I put a piece of cardstock in there, and I'm getting a card front done at the same time. So I'm just going to place that in, put in my standard cutting plate, run that through. But when you pull it out, what you're going to have is just a shape. When you turn it over, you're still going to have a shape, but now you've got a shape on your the back as well as on the front, and you have a shape on the inside. So I'm just going to line this up pretty good again. I could have left it in there, but I'm also going to do just a small one. This guy is also just stitching lines, so I'm going to put that on there as well and run that through. There you go. I'm going to take out my new card front that I've done, and then I have an envelope to coordinate, and I'll probably write in my Mary Merlot, which is the color that I've used here. So there you go. I hope that gives you a few different ideas, 5 different ideas on ways that you can decorate your envelopes, and I'm sure that you could probably come up with a few more ideas. So thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you found this little tip helpful, and if you did, please consider liking it below and also subscribing to my YouTube channel. I post regularly as well over at www.designwithjo.ca. And if you've got a paper crafting question that's niggling at you, send me an email and let's see if we can figure it out. Make sure you don't miss any of the other tips and tricks by clicking on the subscribe button now. Thanks very much and have a great paper crafting day. Bye-bye.